welcome. So you're watching our special May 29 program, where it is the first year of this administration, where it's a stock taking of sorts. So we'll look at all the sectors. I'm here in the studio with my colleague Mark West. So we'll be talking about security now, because we are joined here by Lieutenant General Lagbaja, who is the Chief of Army Staff. Good evening, sir. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much, Chamberlain.
Well, security is always several parts to that. I know you must have heard at least some part of what some of those citizens were saying in terms of their impression of how they feel security is at the moment to them. It may be different from inside where you are. So perhaps we'll start by asking you, could you give us a picture of sorts, what you think, your impression about how, I know it's not, I mean, to assess yourself, but you do your SWOT analysis and strategy with the military. What's your impression of how you're faring so far?
Looking back at where we were 1 year ago and the threats that confront us as a nation, I will say that the troops in the field and even the staff at the headquarters deserve the highest commendation for working in a very difficult environment and delivering results despite the challenges. And if I'm to assess the current security situation in Nigeria vis-a-vis what it was a year ago, I would like to take it on a geographic zone basis, starting from the Northeast, that used to be the epicenter of the security threats in Nigeria previously. Gone are the days when reports of suicide bombing, attack on our government infrastructure, attack on troops location, dislodgement of our troops, and so many reverses in the Northeast used to be the engine in the news headline. Today we have relative peace in the Northeast. Even though we are still confronting the challenge of improvised explosive devices, but it's understandable because the threats that we confront, they are complex, they are ill-defined, they are adaptable. And so, even when attacks occur in the Northeast, the troops respond stoutly and on time to these attacks. Most of the equipment that were carted away from the troops many years back have been recovered. And so we have been seeing photographs of mine resistance ambush protected vehicles being brought out from the Timbuktu Triangle, from Sambisa Forest, places that troops, even the troops dreaded in the past to enter. Now they go there almost on a weekly basis to ensure that there's the boots on the ground, the domination of the geographic space, and stability.
Is this still predominantly in the Northeast?
In the Northeast. In the Northwest, yes, the Northwest, the threat matrix is becoming emboldened, I would say that. And this can be attributed to so many socio-political factors, which are clearly outside the purview of the military. And so the challenge has always been the Yansa Akai, which are the local vigilante against the pastoralists. And the troops have done very well. And looking at the tally, so many of these bandit kingpins, like Ali Kachala, Boderi, Maudi, so many of the well-known bandit kingpins have been taken out by the troops. So many of their camps have been dislodged. Even when we had reverses like the attack on the Kuriga school in Kaduna, it took less than 1 month for the troops to close in on these criminal elements and for the school children to be released. Looking back at how many years it took us to get up to the 50% mark of the number of Chibok girls that were kidnapped, or the March 28 train attack on the Abuja-Kaduna train corridor. I would say the troops have responded.
So, are you facing more challenges in the northwest than in the northeast?
The challenges in the northwest, yes, because of the socio-political undertone, the threat seems not to be going away. I would say that. And looking also at the terrain that is contiguous to so many other rich economic zones like Kaduna, like Niger. These are, even the Federal Capital Territory is attracting these bandits. And so you see a migration from the northwest into this. So there are so many factors that encourages the youth, that has been encouraging people to join the ranks of these bandits. These factors are not going away, but the troops are responding. In the southeast, the issue of sit at home, the legal sit at home, is a thing of the past. And that is why before IPOB do not come on the news channel to announce that there will be a sit at home, because it was given that every Monday there will be a sit at home. But today they need to reinforce it in the mind of the people that after so many months, because people are going about their lawful businesses unhindered. In the South, there has been an increase in the crude oil output from about 900,000, 1 million barrels a day, at a point where almost clocking 1.6 million barrels per day before other industrial factors, force majeure, and other things brought us down to about 1.34, 1.35 million barrels a day. So the troops are doing very well across the geopolitical zone.
Indeed, well, you have done a breakdown according to geopolitical zones, and it would seem that the area where you have recorded the greatest successes, according to your breakdown, is the northeast and the southeast. That seems to be where you've made, and this area, some people will say, well, there was already progress already being made there. It would seem that what you've done right now is consolidate on the progress that has been made. Because if you spoke to those in the Buhari administration, coming down, they would have said, oh, we're making progress in the northeast. Northeast area was one of the areas where they had the bragging rights. But now in the northwest, which was also a problem in that administration, we're hoping that by now, yes, because as the president is marking 1 year in office, you were appointed in June, shortly after he took the oath of office. You're also almost celebrating 1 year as chief of army staff. So looking at 1 year, why has the northwest become so intractable? I know you've spoken to socio-political factors which are outside the remit of the Nigerian army, and you've also talked about some of the successes you've recorded in spite of the problems that you've encountered. For instance, the bringing back of the Kuriga school children. But the very fact that it happened in the first place, says a lot about just how porous security remains in the northwest.
The very fact that it happened in the first place, the Kuriga school attack, is regrettable. But I've been to that school, and I've seen images of so many other schools across the country. And those things cannot stand for schools where people send their children to. No perimeter fence, the roof blown off, close to a forest. So many factors that can be exploited by a determined adversary, and no communication. When it happened, it took more than 3 hours for the troops to get a distress call. Despite that, they responded. And because I was a general officer commanding in the southeast, I can speak boldly to the situation in the southeast. As at the time I was leaving the southeast on 2nd of August 2022, there were so many attacks on government infrastructure, police station, the court facilities, the school system, so many government infrastructure. But today, we keep the tally. And so, in that respect, we have done commendably well in the southeast. Also in the south-south, we have done commendably well. even in the North Central, yes, Plateau, the December 25 attack around Mango, Bariki Ladi happened. But the Plateau situation has been intractable, has been on for years. It's driven by religion, it's driven by ethnic consideration, and so many other social considerations.
So do you think it's going to remain that way for a while yet?
No, it's not going to remain that way. But what I want to say that the kinetic measure does not solve a security challenge, especially when it is driven by passion, when it is driven by ethnicity, religion. These underlying factors must be addressed.
General, why do you think that some persons in Plateau, for instance, have this, I don't know if you call it, this is their impression, they accuse the army of complicity?
They even accuse us of taking sides, which I have said often that the military is a national institution. When we recruit troops, when we form them into subunits, units, formations, we do not ask them what is their religion or where they come from. And so the people who are deployed in Plateau are from all segments of the Nigerian society. And so even some of them are from Plateau. And beats my imagination out, somebody that's from Plateau will be taking side with people that they call settlers.
Or is this something that the army investigates and
the army, over and over we have investigated this, but the people who are coming up with this narrative have an agenda that they are pursuing. And so beyond the issue of the agenda, anytime these issues come up, we investigate and we always make our findings known to the appropriate quarters.
You do know that, you know, this statement and these allegations haven't just come sometimes from ordinary quarters. We've also heard them from very powerful quarters from people who used to be in the army, someone no less than General T.Y. Danjuma, who once said that the military is not impartial in this. When you hear those kinds of statements from people who are statesmen like that, saying that the military, you know, is taking sides in conflicts that affects people in North Central and other districts, how do you react to it?
I will react as a professional, and I usually react as a professional. Danjuma is from an ethnic group that is confronted by a security challenge. He lives there, and I heard his utterances even during the installation of a king in Takum. And so the people who are fighting, the Kuteb, the Jukun, and the Tiv ethnic groups, they don't represent the Nigerian army. That's established. And if General T.Y. Danjuma comes up to accuse the military of taking side, I understand that he has expectation. But the truth is that if there is security infraction in Borno State, it is not everybody in Borno that is an enemy of the state. It's not everybody. The army does not go about asking people what is their religion, which ethnic group they belong to, in carrying out their duty. We do it professionally. And you don't expect us to go into a community and burn the whole place and kill everybody just because you have an issue. If they do not employ, if they are not seen as combatants, carrying arms openly, engaging the military in combat, yeah, we treat them as law-abiding citizens because that is what they have presented themselves to be. And if that is the stand of General Danjuma for him to express his opinion, I think it does not represent what the Nigerian army stands for, because we have conducted ourselves professionally in every theater we are engaged across the country.
There are quite a number of issues. I mean, in the last 1 year, almost 1 year now, I have to be very careful, it's not yet a year, but almost 1 year since you were appointed, quite a number of challenges have confronted the Nigerian military. I mean, we've talked about Kuriga, you said what you see there is not a place that we should call a school for Nigeria's children. And that still is the situation in many other schools in many parts of the country. But there's also been Tudumbiri, which you have apologized over, and I think the Nigerian Army has conducted a hearing into that. I think 2 soldiers, is it 2 soldiers now, or 2 officers have been indicted on that particular count. And there's also been Okwama, which has also, affected the Nigerian Army very adversely. These are some of the things that are beginning to show, the relationship, the tense relationship that could come up as a result of the military being involved in within the civilian space, especially in internal conflict operations. Is this something that the military is looking at more critically? Its relations, its civil-military relations, and these incidences which continues to come up as a result of your interactions with the populace which you seek to protect?
The world over, there are 2 models for employing military to confront conflict. It's either expeditionary or internal looking. We are focused internally in Nigeria. That is why you see the military deployed all across the 36 states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory. And when you have troops deployed in the population space, you expect that there will be infraction, because the troops leave, they conduct their activities with the civilian. They are not cantoned in a barracks. And so these infractions will come up. But we are addressing, how do we address this? We have been conducting training to enlighten our soldiers on the way they must conduct themselves in the field. Beyond that, we have rules of engagements and code of conduct. And we will publish this and give it as a booklet to be kept in the breast pocket of every soldier so that it becomes part of them. And whenever we get a report of this infraction, like in Okwama, like in Tudumbiri, we conduct in-depth investigation and take appropriate remedial action. So going forward, we will intensify our sensitization and training of our troops. We have also engaged in civil-military cooperation activities. So you see us engaging in community development activities, providing water for communities where our troops are deployed. We run medical facilities, we conduct medical outreaches, and so many other things. So we engage in all these things so that the people that we are out to protect will see us as their friends and understand the way we operate.
General, some persons in Abuja here, Banex Plaza specifically, didn't see the army as their friends not long ago when that clash happened. Have you investigated? Is there anyone culpable for anything on the part of the army?
I read a press release from the Association of Mobile Telephone Dealers in Banex apologizing for the unruly behavior of some of their members. So that respect, they see us as their friend. They understood that what happened was a misunderstanding. The troops went there as people that every Nigerian patronize Banex. Driving away from here, I can go into Banex to buy whatever I want to buy.
Some said the officers were on an illegal duty.
Why?
They were trying to enforce civilian scenario, which is left for the police. Someone bought a phone, and then they got the army to intervene, and that was the account. Is that correct?
The press release from the Director of Army Public Relations clearly states that these allegations will be investigated. We are investigating, and we will take appropriate sanction on the troops if they are found to be culpable.
What about the closing down of the place? Did the army have, under the law, to shut down the place for, even if it's for a day or two?
The army is already deployed in the public space. We are deployed in all the 36 states of the Federation. We are deployed even in the Federal Capital Territory, conducting internal security operations. Although these are policing tasks. But I've said that the employment of the military in Nigeria is inward-looking. We are not an expeditionary force. And to that extent, if we perceive that there's a likelihood of a breach of law and order, breakdown of law and order, we'll take appropriate action. Because if Barnes is touched, it is the military that will be called out to protect the general.
But shutting the place down, I mean, you heard several lawyers who say that, no, that is a violation of the law. The army has no right to get in there and shut down the place when the police is there. If anyone feels highly or feel offended, you resort to the courts. But the army, I'm not sure that has happened.
No, the army, even in shutting down the place, we worked in concert with the police. Do not forget that when the troops were being assaulted, right within the precinct of Barnex, the policemen came around. And there was likelihood of a breakdown of law and order. And the troops were already deployed even all around Barnex Plaza long before that face-off happened.
But General, how does the army deploy? I thought it's the CNC that's supposed to give directives. So was he involved in soldiers who went there and shut down the place?
The CNC does not give the military, like I told you, the army is already on the streets. If you drive from your office to Wuse, now you see the soldiers on the street riding motorcycles, driving their vehicles.
That's different. If they're riding motorcycle is different from them coming in there and carrying out certain actions. Because people would expect, I mean, the army is trying to build civil-military relations, to see the army as your friend, where you can volunteer information of which you can then succeed. But if they don't understand what's going on with the army and they're coming in high-handed, they'll pull back and feel it's an adversary.
What I'm trying to tell you is that we must remove the president from this. The military is already called out. There's a procedure for military call-out. And we must understand the nature and the intensity of threats that confront us in Nigeria. And so, because the threat has gone beyond the normal policing situation, the military has been called out. Not today, not 10 years ago. And so, the troops have been on the street. So you do not need any other directive to tell the troops to secure Barnex if there's likelihood of an attack on that facility.
What strategies would you say have been working so far? Because yes, you've talked about how you have, been able to consolidate on, the successes made in the Northeast and even record some more in the southeast of Nigeria and even in the south-south. It's interesting you're quite on the southwest. I was going to ask whether there are no challenges there. But what strategies would you say have been working in these areas which we can deploy in the northwest and the north central? Because from the analysis that some of our analysts did moments ago, whatever is affecting the northwest seems to be seeping into the north central, which you acknowledged by also talking about what's happening in Abuja, what's happening in Plateau State, what's happening even in Kogi State as well. You want to share some of the things that perhaps you need perhaps those in government and public to be aware of, maybe to cooperate with you more on?
First, talking about the Southwest specifically, the Southwest has also been confronted with some challenges, even though on low scale, compared to what is happening in other parts of the country. There have been cases of kidnapping along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and even in the Oyo North, especially around Shaki, Boho, Okeo. But the troops have responded to this, and we're not hearing about kidnapping along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway and the farmers' elders confrontation in Oyo North. For every conflict situation that we have intervened, we've had to come up with a design, what we call a campaign plan. And in this campaign plan, it is expected that the military will work in concert with other elements of national power to bring about peace and stability in the conflict zone.
Where do the people fit in?
The people fit in, so I'm talking about the military, the people, the government. The government must be able to bring about developmental activity like building roads to help in military operations and to assuage the whatever are the grievances of the people. They must be able to provide water. They must be able to do some other things. In the Northeast, we have worked not only in concert with the government, with international non-governmental organizations and so many other partners. And the results are obvious for everybody to see. In the Northwest, we are doing our very best. The strategy we are employing in the Northwest is first to contain in situ so that there's no migration of the threat to either to trouble-free area like Kaduna, like Niger, like the Federal Capital Territory. And then after containing, we can then conduct decapitation operation to remove the ringleaders of these criminal activities, remove the sophisticated and military-grade weapons from them. And once that is done, we expect that other elements of national power, developmental, dialogue, and the rest will come to play. And we have an enduring peace that...
Okay, so as we wind down, General, could you talk to us about local manufacturing of equipment for the military, for instance? Are we making any progress in that area?
Straight away, I will invite you to come for our Nigerian Army Day celebration that is scheduled to hold in Jos. The climax will be on 6th of July in Jos. Come and see on display what the Command Engineering Depot in Kaduna is doing. We have faced challenges in the field. Even the local manufacturing of military hardware is ongoing, not only within the military, but by other businesses. Proforce is doing its own. Imperium in Kaduna is doing. The machine tool in Osogbo is doing a lot. In those days, our personal protective equipment, we used to import almost everything from abroad. And that is a drain on the foreign exchange of the country. But today, we get everything from these industries that I've mentioned, Proforce, Imperium, Nigerian machine tools. And even within the military, our electrical and mechanical corps has been able to sit down and see how they can do reverse engineering and address some challenges that confront us. We've had situations where mine resistance and bush protected vehicles that cost, and on the average, $700,000 get burnt in the field. And at the cost of about 20 million, they are fixed completely as good as brand new from the Command Engineering Depot. So if you come to Jos in July, you will see on display these things that are being done by locally.
I look forward to that. We would love to see that because, we have to do what we have to do to ensure that we keep boosting local capacity. We have to thank you for coming on. Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, Chief of Army Staff. Thank you, and all the best to yourself and the team for the work you do for the country.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure being here.